Episode 6 of the Buzz podcast is proudly brought to you by our sponsors, Jack's Poker, Australia's #1 online supplier of the highest quality poker merchandise and products. You can visit their website at www.jackspoker.com.au and don't forget to mention discount code PokerBuzz10. That's PokerBuzz with the number 10 for your discount of 10% off your total order. On today's podcast, we will be talking with a well-known local player who has graced the poker tables in many different states of Australia and a variety of major events, and during this time has had many successes as well. Would like to welcome to the Buzz panel, Sam Adams. Hey, Sam.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
so, Sam, just to start with, would be interesting to ask and to get to know you a little bit better about your journey into the poker world as such. Was it planned, like a planned thought, or did it cross your path to take you on this journey?
Well, nothing was planned. Everything just kind of happened, and it's a bit of a long journey, but I'll go through it briefly. I think for me, it started about 15 years or so ago. I think maybe 2004, 2005, just watching WPT on the telly. So I was watching that. I was obsessed by it. I loved it. I'd watch every screening that I could find. And then I found out that APL had free rolls, and I started playing those. So in the space of a year, I think I probably played about 200 of those. I liked it. I was getting results. I was going to the state champs and stuff like that, and I thought that was pretty cool. So at some point, I decided to buy a laptop because I wanted to play for cash. At the time in Queensland, it was very hard to play for money unless you went to the casino. I think they just had limit poker at the time. And so with that laptop, I made some money in the first 3 weeks. I actually quit my job, and I decided, well, that's it for me. I'm just going to play poker from now on. And that actually lasted about 2 years, where I didn't have a losing month in that time. I wasn't making big money though. I was making enough to pay my rent. I was paying my bills, groceries, didn't have to work. And it was good, but I never really pushed myself to move up to bigger limits where I could have made really big money and risked big money. I just wasn't really game to do that back then. So as time went on, the results, I was still making money, but it wasn't really enough to support myself comfortably. I decided a better idea would be go back into part-time work and play a bit of poker. Then eventually, as time went on, I actually drifted away from poker. I started working hard. I got promoted. I was general manager of a business at one point. Got engaged, bought a house, did all that sort of stuff. And at that time, poker was an afterthought. I would still play the occasional game, but it wasn't really a big part of my life. Then at some stage, I kind of just decided to walk away from everything that I had. I quit the job. I broke up with the girl, sold the house, and then I decided I was going to go and move to Fiji. So I went to Fiji. I ended up spending a couple of years there. I had a job. I wasn't earning that much there, but didn't really care. I just wanted something different. And I had a great time there. I had a great time, but in the end, I realized that the savings I had were going to run out. I was playing occasionally online there. I did have a $10,000 win from a $50 tournament, and I had a $7,000 win from a $100 tournament. So I was still getting a few results over there, but I also had a ton of losses as well. I would have made money, but it wasn't anything significant. And sometimes a week or a month would pass without me even playing. Like, I really wasn't that interested in poker. I just drifted away from it. And I think at that time as well, the game had evolved a lot, and I hadn't really kept up in any way. Like, the game had changed. And, in 2016, let's say, I was probably playing 2009 poker. The game had changed so much in that time. And then anyway, I ended up, in 2017, I broke up with a girl I was seeing over there, which gave me not as much reason to stay in Fiji because I was kind of sick of the job by then anyway. Around that time, a friend of mine offered me a job to come back over here, which was earning good money. So within weeks, I was back in Australia. And when I did that, I rediscovered my love for poker again with the WPT games. I was going down to Tweed a couple of times a week and playing. And I started ironing out a few flaws in my game because my game had obviously, it had gone downhill. I really hadn't thought about it much, but I started analysing situations I was finding myself in, trying to figure out how to get better results because at that time I was working hard saving to buy a house. So I didn't want to be spending money to play poker. I wanted to be getting extra money out of poker. And then after I ironed a few things out, I started doing quite well off poker. Fast forward to June of last year, my house was built. And around that time, I quit my job because I decided that I was going to have another crack at poker. So for the last year, all I've done is I have played poker and I've bet on cricket. I've actually done quite well betting on cricket as well. Made more off that than poker, but both have been good sources of income. And and that's pretty much up to where we are now.
So the Australian poker cricket dream.
Yes. As long as it's good for me, I'll maintain my interest in it. If it goes, if I stop getting much from it, then I might have to look for something else. But it's the last year has definitely been better than I had expected when I quit my job. So all good signs so far.
That's awesome. What a colourful journey. That's excellent. So it can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the sort of poker is the sort of thing where even if you drift off and decide to do other things, you can always come back to it. And there was quite a long window of time there where I had other things to do. I was more interested in everything else, not in poker. Then I came back to it. It only took me 6 months to a year to kind of catch up to where I would have been. And then so now I'm enjoying it again. And the same could happen again one day. I know I might get sidetracked. I might start doing something else. I might stop playing poker. And then maybe in another 5 years, I come back to it. Who knows? Or maybe I'll just stay playing poker for the rest of my life.
For the rest, yeah. Very cool. So, Sam, just touching on now the bigger events, like you mentioned last June, you started more seriously again into the poker scene. So one of your latest greatest achievements was winning the Player of the Series for APT the beginning of this year. First of all, congratulations again. What an achievement. That's awesome. So can you just share with us, Sam, what did that actually entail to actually gain you that Player of the Series? Like, as in, how many tournaments did that take? The pressure that you would have been under to actually achieve that result?
Well, it was interesting. So for a start, I played every game except for one that had points. The only game that carried points that I didn't play was the 8 game or mixed game or something like that. I think it was 8 game. On the morning of that game, while I was playing in a $1,500 buy-in tournament, I was reading on my phone the rules of some of the stud formats of poker because I've never played it, getting myself ready so that I could actually play that and try and so that's how seriously I was taking winning Player of the Series. I mean, that's an $1,100 buy-in, and there's a good chance I was going to dump money if I played that. In the end, I didn't play it, though, and that's because I ran deep in the 6 max. I ended up coming 4th in that, and by the time I got out of that, it was past the end of late reg for the 8 game, and the blinds were quite high, and I really felt that I wasn't going to have an $1,100 buy-in getting blinded out while I wait to get out of the 6 max and then join. So that was the only game I didn't play. Over the course of the series, I spent a lot of money on buy-ins, and about $9,000 in buy-ins. I got more than that back, plus the prize and pole position in the Player of the Year. And it was an interesting challenge. I was averaging 3 or 4 hours of sleep per night because I was driving back home as well. So it's like, I can't remember, hour and a quarter drive, I think, each way. And I'd be amped up. So by the time I get home, I'm not really feeling like sleeping. Finally get to sleep, then set the alarm, head back up there to play the next game. So it was fun times, and it was a
Was there
relief.
sorry, Sam, was there anything in particular you did to keep you going, like for the endurance of playing so many tournaments, one after the other, back to back, so to speak? Because I know I've spoken to a few other players and some of the pros, and some have got their snacks in their bags, others go out for a stretch, for a walk, etc. Have you got anything like that you do?
No,
When you do it?
For me, I just believe it's mind over matter. So I just tell myself that it's not acceptable to be tired. It's not acceptable to play badly or whatever, or no time to make excuses. Only goes for 5 days. Play. You can rest all you like after that, and that's it. So I would just go there. And plus, back when I was playing online, I sometimes did 24-hour sessions without sleep. Like, start at 8 a.m., not leave the computer, and then at 8 a.m. the next day, I'm like, oh, maybe I should go to sleep sometime. So for me, when I'm doing those things, it doesn't even really seem to take that much out of me. I was tired. I looked tired. I think in any of my winning photos on like the final day, I looked visibly tired, and I was. But I don't think it affected my play at all. I put that out of my mind. I just focus on the game at hand, and once it's over, I got all the time in the world to sleep. So I just try not to think about it. So I don't have anything else. I don't drink a coffee or anything else like that. Yeah.
And do you find that adrenaline that you get? I know when I mean, not to your caliber, obviously, of playing the big series. I've never had that opportunity yet to play so many tournaments in the one time. But in some of the other tournaments, like I've played some of the side events at WSOP, that adrenaline, is that something that you get as well when you do these 3-day events that you think may contribute to you keeping on going? Like you say, that mind over matter and focus?
I'm not sure. It's possible. If I am feeling adrenaline, I'm not overly aware of it. Usually on the table, I try to stay very calm. I don't celebrate very often. When I get unlucky or get out or whatever, I very rarely react. I try to stay numb, and on the surface, I try to stay somewhat uninterested in everything that's happening, which helps me just focus on each hand as it comes, focus on the situation. When I'm sitting there, I'm constantly thinking about previous hands I've seen, and this guy did that, and if he's doing that there, then he's likely to do this here, and that's what he's thinking about. And, like I'm trying to think which players are, just trying to hang in there, which players are trying to build up a stack, which players are maniacs, which players are, just going to try and fold to the money. And just every hand that's happening, I'm trying to watch it, even after I folded. So I don't really, aside from that, I don't really think too much about, the exciting part of poker or being nervous or anything like that. It just doesn't really cross my mind at the time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So coming back to the APT winning the series, there was a grand, like you obviously won the grand prize, which was a package to Costa Rica. I mean, that is so exciting, like how cool. But obviously being exciting at the same time, and with what's happened with the COVID-19, what happens with that now? And would that have been your first international big event to play in as well?
Yeah, it would have been my first one out of the country. I've never gone to Vegas, for example, because I just don't see the point in going somewhere where I'm going to pay taxes when there's so many good local tournaments where you don't have to pay any taxes. And even in this Costa Rica one of the things I was looking forward to is we weren't going to have to pay any taxes. Like it was just going to be, put into an online account and stuff like that. So like, that's great. As for going there, the whole thing has been a bit frustrating. We would have been there at the end of March. Me and a couple of the guys had actually planned to go a week early because we were going to muck around and see what the sites are like in Costa Rica. Was really looking forward to it. At this stage, we're not really sure what's happening. I've spoken to the guys at APT. They haven't really committed to a date that we can play it. They haven't committed to giving us the cash yet. So at the moment, we're just kind of being patient. I think it's only 2 months now, 2 months later than when the game would be. I think if it gets to 3 or 4 months, then maybe we'll start looking into it a bit further. at the moment, just kind of hoping that either the travel restrictions ease and we can play, or that they'll come to the decision to just do something different for us, whether it's some sort of game with the same buy-in locally or just paying us out or whatever it is. I don't know. But, I like all the guys at APT. I'm friends with, the people who run it. And I'm hopeful that we all reach a good outcome soon. I'm pretty confident we will.
Yeah, they run a good show, the boys and the females, but yeah, the boys who are in charge as such. And hopefully that will get resolved for you and the others who have won those Costa Rica packages. And like you said, it'd be great if the best result would be if the travel restrictions did ease off, so you could actually go and play. I mean, that would just be like, the ultimate at the end.
Good. Because like I said, I'd even paid for, I think it was an extra 5 or 6 nights accommodation beforehand. Everything was booked. Everything was ready to go. Luckily, I was able to get
Who doesn't want to check out the sights of Costa Rica, right?
I've never been to South America, so as a great opportunity. I've been wanting to go to like Argentina, and there've been a few places I've been thinking of going and visiting anyway. So to get a free, or not a free, but to get a prize that's a trip to Costa Rica was just ideal. And I hope it still goes ahead. But obviously, if we're not going to get to go for another year or two, then I don't really want to wait. But I'm sure things will get sorted out.
Sorted, yeah. I hope so too, for your sake and everyone else's.
Yes.
So. Yeah, there's always the fingers crossed, right? So with all that being said then, Sam, and obviously with the uncertainty of live poker happening like really anytime soon, because, I sort of speak to a lot of I'm affiliated with a lot of the venue managers, etc., across the different states, and they're pretty much all in the same boat of hopefully July they're thinking of opening their doors, but then they've all got the social distancing restrictions, etc. With this, even in Vegas, with a 4-player max, there won't be no poker with 4-player handed. That's just ridiculous on every level. But so what does that then leave? Where does that leave Sam, being that you've come back into it just in June last year? We're sort of like 7 months, 8 months into it. We come to a halt with something that was so unforeseen. So where does that leave you now with your poker to go ahead?
Well, I mean, it's annoying, but what can you do? I'm just hoping that it doesn't go for too long. I'm also hoping that cricket comes back in particular, well, sport in general, but especially cricket. At least that'll give me something to do. Like, for example, during the Big Bash last year, I didn't even play much poker, even though it was available, because I was absolutely killing it during Big Bash. And so it made much more sense for me to I was spending 20 or 30 hours a week researching cricket stats and basically comparing that to the markets and finding mistakes that I could exploit. So honestly, if they bring cricket back in the meantime, I'll be happy to wait for a bit for poker to come back. But yeah, with no cricket and no poker, it is a bit boring. But,
I know there's not many other sporting avenues, is there, at the moment?
There's not. And like, even if they bring back NRL and AFL, I don't really watch those games. I can't expect to beat the bookies at that. I'm not going to. I don't know enough about it, but I do with cricket. So I really get back. Even if they bring any other cricket in another part of the world, that should be enough. But as long as they have the markets that I want. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Other than that, just living life, just living isolation life.
The ISO life. We're all in it together, let me tell you. We've been self-isolating now for 2.5 months. It's just, it's full on. But listen, we're better safe than sorry, right?
Yeah. Hopefully.
I know, right? So, okay, now for some fun time, Sam. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Do you wish to take the challenge of 60 seconds with Queen Bee?
Yeah, sure.
You had to think there for a minute. Like, what's going on? You don't want to challenge with me? Really? Oh, come on. All right, let me get my little stopwatch here.
Okay.
All right, so we've got our little timer on for 60 seconds. Where are we? Okay, let's go. Your favorite poker room?
Probably go the Star in Melbourne. I haven't actually been there for a long time, but the times I went, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, your favorite poker hand?
Favorite poker hand? Well, I'll be very unoriginal and I'll say aces. If I was going to get any hand, I would rather it be aces. So not the most fun answer, but if you give me that every hand, I would much rather that than 6-7 suited can be fun, but you're not going to win as often with it.
Yeah, the good old pocket rockets.
Yeah.
What? Actually, we'll stop the clock. Speaking of pocket aces,
Yep.
if you could, you just said about you'd have them every hand. What about if you could have pocket aces every hand? What do you reckon? What would your odds be? What's your stats?
Well, I mean, actually, about a year or so ago, I was talking about something similar with a mate of mine where, and we were going to try it out, but it just never happened because it's a bit of a hassle. But we thought, what if we gave one person pocket aces every hand? So take 2 aces out of the deck, put them face up. That person has aces every single hand. The other 50 cards are shuffled up. The other person will get a random hand, and there'll be a flop, turn, river as normal. But the person with aces exposed plays against the person with random hand. And what would the end result of that be? Because obviously the person with random hand can bluff. They can also go for max value when they know they're winning. They can fold when they're losing. But at the end of the day, the guy with aces is going to have the best hand the majority of the time. And we haven't actually tried that out. I suspect that if you started with like a really deep stack, like 100 big blind cash game where the blinds don't go up, I think the guy with random hand would win. But I'm not sure. I think, though, if it was a situation where, let's say tournament, let's say you're starting with 20 big blinds and the blinds are going up, I think the guy with aces will win. Not every time, but if you play, let's say, 100 games, I think the guy with aces will win more than 50 games out of the 100. But if you did the same 100 games in a cash game, I'm really not sure. So I don't know. That's just something
That'd be a good little test, wouldn't it?
It would be interesting. I don't know, like anyone watching this maybe might have an opinion on it. Maybe you think I'm completely wrong and the guy with aces will win, or I don't know. But
that'd be good. They can drop their comments. Everyone, drop your comments and let us know what you would be the better hand, the pocket aces.
I think that would be very interesting because a lot of poker is deception and the ability to represent different hands. And even if you've got the aces, if they're face up, you have no ability to do that. You still have decision making though, because you still have to decide when the other person bets, are they bluffing or are they going for value? Because if they're bluffing and you call, you're obviously going to take a decent portion of their stack compared to if you fold. But if they're the sort of player who's only going to bet for value, then you just need to fold when they're betting for value and then bet every other time to take the dead money if they're just folding every time they're behind, because they'll be behind most of the time. I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, let's start the clock again. You ready?
All right. It's a long minute.
Okay. We had a bit of a pause in between. So if you could pick any event in the world, which one would it be to play?
Well, even though is that your
that was our clock. Yeah, that was our 60 seconds.
All right. Even though I did say earlier I'm not that keen on going to Vegas because I don't want to pay tax, I think that the tournament that I will definitely play at some stage will be World Series Poker main event. I'll put up with the fact I pay tax on that, I guess, but it's I think it's on any poker player's bucket list. You got to play that at some point.
Oh, I agree 1,000%. Yeah. And lastly, the most live tournaments you've played in a week or in one sitting, so to speak?
Right. Well, anytime they have one of those 5-day series, I pretty much play everything. So that's usually around 20 tournaments or close to 20 tournaments. So I've done that a bunch of times. I can't think of any situation where I would have played much more than that. So I would say my record for a week is probably around about 20 tournaments, and I've probably done that a lot of times.
Awesome. That's excellent. All right, Sam, I can say thank you so much. It's been really interesting speaking to you and getting to know you in a different world, so to speak. It's you've had a very colourful journey with poker, and just wish you all the luck in your future endeavours, playing a game that we all love. And hopefully, it all comes together the way you like.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun. Nice to do something different during these ISO times. So yeah.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Thank you, Sam.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
See ya.
So this is Sula, and thanks for joining us on Poker Buzz. Make sure to follow us on all our socials: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and tune and listen and download our podcast on Spotify. Until next week, buzz for now.